from the WSIC Weather Center. All right, welcome back to the Scoreboard, everyone. You are listening to WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM, and as always, streaming the video to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, well, not Instagram, but LinkedIn, and our website, WSICnews.com, 704-873-1400 is the phone number. If you have something on your mind today, something you'd like to talk about. We had Carolina Hurricanes hockey last night. We have some more tonight. We have football tomorrow. And a big blockbuster NBA trade. Yes, NBN, like National Basketball Association. The NBA. There was a massive, massive trade. And we're probably going to start with that, actually, because we really haven't had too much to talk about when it comes to basketball here recently. The season's not started yet. We're in the off season, and we're in the middle of football season. So the NBA kind of sits in the background. But here is the report. Blazers, the Portland Trail Blazers, have traded star player Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. Wow. That's a massive trade. And not only were they able to get Lillard, but the Bucks didn't have to give up too many star guys. I mean, obviously you're not going to trade Giannis. It's just not going to happen. Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, an unprotected first-round pick, and an unprotected pick swap in 2028 and 2030. 2030. The Bucks just traded a pick that they're not going to have for 7 years. I doubt the GM's even going to be there then. I was wondering this because you don't really see other sports where the trades are 5, 6, 7 years out into the future. Can we limit this somehow? Like, why are you allowed to trade a pick that's not going to be used for 7 years? Like 2 years out, I get. 3 years out, okay. 4 years out is kind of where you're like, are you sure you're still going to be the GM of this team when that pick comes up? Well, apparently the Trailblazers believe that their GM will, because they decided to trade for an unprotected first-round pick in the year 2029, which is, quite the ways away. But Portland gets Dame Lillard, and there was also a third team in this. The Suns, they received Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nassar Little, and Keon Johnson. So not a big haul, I mean, Grayson Allen's probably the most popular player on that list, but he's only popular for his time at Duke when he decided to kick a whole bunch of players. Yeah, we haven't forgotten about that, Grayson Allen. No big fans of his. Unless you're a Duke fan, then I'm sure you love Grayson Allen. But this puts the Bucks back to one of the most dominant teams in the NBA. I mean, they really haven't fallen from that. Now, they did lose in the first round of the NBA playoffs last year, which was kind of tough. But now you have Dame and Giannis. That's two superstars, two potential Hall of Fame type players right there. And the Bucks, you got to remember, they're not that far removed from an NBA championship. Giannis has already got one. So they're really pushing to get that second one in there. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be competitive. Dame still has it. He does. And Portland, well, it kind of tells you exactly what you need to know about Portland now that they've made this trade. They are officially going full rebuild. They don't think that they have the team to compete right now, which is another reason where you're kind of like, why are you trading for picks 6 years in the future? But, I'm not a GM, so maybe there is a strategy to it. Maybe you trade the pick that far away because you're not going to be the GM, and you don't have to worry about it. So Dame Lillard to the Bucks, that was announced earlier today. And it was weird because there were some rumblings about where Dame might end up here in the next couple of days. And today the reporting really got a lot more solid that it looked like Dame was going to be going to the Heat. And, well, he ended up not getting dealt to the Heat. And Jimmy Butler had something to say about that. So Jimmy Butler, player for the Miami Heat, he went on to Twitter and said, hey, you guys need to investigate the Bucks, claiming, well, actually, it was in his Instagram story. It's no longer there, I don't believe. Well, if he's left it up there, that is something else. It actually looks like it is still on his Instagram story, but he basically said, I think they tampered. He said, here's what the actual quote is. Yo, NBA, you need to look into the Bucks for tampering. Just going to put that out there. Yeah, that's all he says a whole bunch of times. And then Tyler Hero said what he said. So apparently there's things to be dug up in this trade. And the Bucks are a team that kind of came out of nowhere in this Dame Lillard conversation. It was always, it looks like he's going to the Heat. It looks like he's going to the Heat. And then out of nowhere, the Bucks are like, we got him. I don't know, man. And Tyler Hero's going to be back next year, too, after the injury for the Heat. It would have been crazy to see Dame, Hero, and Butler all on the same team. But unfortunately, the Heat couldn't get it done. And we move on. We wait for the NBA season to start. It's still quite a ways away. We said we got some time to wait yet. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit more excited about hockey season. Mostly because the Carolina team will be a lot better than the basketball team this year. And I know that to be fact. We haven't had a good basketball team in quite some time. But who knows? Maybe with new ownership now, we won't be bottom dwellers. Maybe you fight for a play-in. My God, I forgot. They still do that play-in tournament in the NBA. It's just bad. It's all bad with the NBA. There really is very few times where they're getting positive media attention. Traveling's the biggest one. Man, whew. Watch an NBA game and take a shot every time you see it travel. You'll be in the hospital, that's for sure. All right, we're going to head to break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the MLB, the playoff race. The Cubs had an incredibly bad blunder last night that hurts their chances, so we'll make sure to cover all of that. Stay tuned right here. You're listening to The Scoreboard on WSIC. We'll be back after this.
Have your say.
Trusting the government to fix anything is a joke.
Be a part of the conversation.
We can't even trust the banks with our money.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. This Friday, the Steel Wheels are performing at Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius. Come listen to the storytelling abilities of the Steel Wheels through Americana and folk music. Doors open at 7 and the show starts at 8. The Steel Wheels, this Friday, kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Start your engines, racing fans. The Bank of America Roval 400 is back to Charlotte. Sunday, October 8th, starting at 2 p.m. the Bank of America Roval 400 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Get your tickets before it's too late. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com. No time to get to the apple picking at Kerrigan Farms? Apple picking ends September 30th. But you have your chance to go pumpkin picking. Starting September 30th, you can experience the pumpkin patch at Kerrigan Farms. Book your experience now at kerriganfarms.com. The All-American Dog Show is this Sunday in Cornelius, 2 until 5 p.m. Bring your furry friends with you. Come find out who has the fluffiest coat and see the cutest puppy in all of Cornelius. And be sure to come by the WSIC tent at the All-American Dog Show happening at Robbins Park in Cornelius this Sunday. For more info, visit cornelius.org. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Renaissance Festival is back! Saturdays and Sundays, September 30th through November 19th. Save your dates. Don't miss the Renaissance Festival. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
And now for a look at your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center. As you head through the evening, it'll be a while before you see sunshine again. Mostly cloudy conditions throughout the nighttime. Your overnight low heading down to 57. Into Thursday morning, the sun will be out. Partly sunny skies with your afternoon high up around 75. This is your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center.
Hello friends, this is Dwight with Gullion's Christian Supply and Homeschool Headquarters, inviting you to join the Gullion family and staff in praising the Lord for 30 years of providing you with trustworthy and inspiring books, Bibles, music, gifts, and supplies. We so appreciate your support and friendship over all these years. With locations in King and Statesville, North Carolina, visit us again soon for encouraging fellowship and essential provisions for your Christian life. Gullion's Christian Supply and Homeschool Headquarters, where the Bible stands.
If you have an upcoming event, let WSIC spread the word. Go to WSICnews.com and click on the Community Calendar button. WSIC, proud to be part of your community.
All right, we are back. Second segment here on the Scoreboard with me, your host, Joe Berg. 704-873-1400. The Cubs were 2 innings away from beating the Atlanta Braves and really helping their case for a wild card. Well, unfortunately, in the 8th inning, Seiya Suzuki made an error. 2 runs come around to score. And the Cubs fall. An 8th inning error in the outfield. Here's what this did to the wild card. Arizona, a game and a half ahead of Chicago right now. Miami is now only a half game back. And the Reds are a game and a half back. Cubs get that win. They probably eliminate San Diego. They probably eliminate San Francisco. But those 2 teams still holding on by the skin of their teeth. The Reds a game and a half. Man, they were 2.5 yesterday. And that swing, just from an 8th inning blunder, gives them hope. So let's take a look at the National League and how it's shaking out right now. Philadelphia has clinched their playoff berth. There is no way they will be knocked out of the wild card. Arizona, game and a half ahead of Chicago. Like I said, they are very close to clinching their playoff run. And they're 8-2 in their last 10, which is huge because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about how everybody in that in the NL wildcard race was kind of hovering from right around 500 in their past 10 games for weeks. And I mean, you would look and it was like win, loss, win, loss, win, win, loss, loss. And it's like, oh my goodness, they can't figure it out. And there were about 5 of those teams. You had Arizona, Chicago, Miami, Cincinnati, and San Francisco, all doing that for weeks. Then all of a sudden, San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, they fell into a pretty bad skid and really lessened their likelihood of making the playoffs. While Arizona, they got hot. 8-2 in their last 10. They put a little bit of separation between them and the Cubs, but there's still more time to go. So let's take a look at what happened last night. Some of the scores from around the league. You had the Reds taking on the Guardians. They were able to get that win 11-7. The Orioles beat the Nationals 1-0, and that's a pretty big game, pretty big win for them because they still have not clinched the AL East. Tampa still has a chance to get that division and steal it from them, and it's a good thing they got that 1-0 win because Tampa ended up winning over the Red Sox by a score of 7-9. Yankees beat the Blue Jays and really hurt their playoff race. The way it stands in the American League right now, there's 4 teams going for 3 spots. And I'm going to include the Texas Rangers in that because they have not yet clinched their division. Toronto, a game and a half ahead of Houston, who is the last team in the playoffs right now. The Seattle Mariners are a half game behind. And the Texas Rangers, well, they're only a game and a half ahead of in the regular season standings. When you look at, 2.5 games ahead in the AL West for the division. It's not over yet. That can still flip. You could see Texas lose the last 3, 4, 5 games they have this season. It's happened before. We've seen them go on a skid, and Houston, Seattle, they'll be right there, ready to pounce. I don't know how it's going to shake out in the playoff race for the AL, but what I will tell you is the same thing that I've been telling you for the past, 2 months now. These divisions, these wild cards are going to come down to the final day of this season. And I just don't see any way where it's decided before that because these teams are just so close. Nobody's able to get any kind of separation. You have your upper tier teams, which are, I'm going to say, Baltimore, Tampa, Atlanta, and LA. And then you have the guys that are all hovering right around that high 80 win mark. You have Toronto with 87, Houston with 86, Seattle with 85. The Yankees had 80. They're eliminated. And then when you look at the NL, it's just as close. So you have your 4 dominant teams. I'm going to call it 2 in the American League, 2 in the National League. Orioles, Rays, Atlanta, LA. Those are your dominant teams this year. Now, they probably won't be the championship series matchups just because that's how baseball is. There's all weird stuff that goes on. I really highly doubt we see the 4 best teams in the AL and NLCS, but it would be nice because those have been the best teams all year. I'll tell you what, most of the fan bases of the MLB, not specific teams, but the MLB in general, are really hoping for a Dodgers-Braves playoff series again because they're so electric. They're amazing. We could be heading to that. We could see an upset early in the playoffs. I mean, it's not out of the question, but we only have a few days left. Today is the 27th on a Wednesday. Sunday, October 1st, last day of games. Everybody plays. We'll see how it shakes down after that. And when we come back in on Monday, we'll have a playoffs set and ready. Baseball playoffs. Unfortunately, they're going to get overshadowed, the way they always do, by the big bad Shield. And which Shield? You already know what shield I'm talking about, the NFL. We're going into week 4 now. We have Thursday night football coming up. That's tomorrow. I know everybody's excited for Lions-Packers. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make light of the fact that the Lions and the Packers are playing. I'm just saying it stinks that there's no hype around baseball playoffs because it's really good. Great times. And I don't know which playoff system is the best. Would you rather have a series or would you rather do a one and done like the NFL? I think the NFL might be the only one of the 4 major sports. Yeah, the NFL is the only major sports where their playoff is one and done. NBA, MLB, and hockey all use series. Now, it makes sense in baseball because you go through the year playing series. You play 3-game set, 4-game set, 2-game, 5-game, whatever you have, double headers. You don't do that in the NHL. You don't do that in basketball. You play a team, you move on to the next team. So it's just interesting why these leagues have different playoff systems. I don't think one and done is the best way to do it. Now, I get in the NFL, you really can't do anything else. It's set in stone. There's no way we're going to have a 3-game series for the AFC Championship game. Although it would be awesome, don't get me wrong, to get 3 games of like Chiefs-Bills or Dolphins-Ravens. That would be awesome. 3 games of that in the playoffs. But it's never going to happen. You just can't do it. I like series personally because I think there's nothing better than a Game 7. Obviously. Hopefully we'll be able to see some Game 7s in the MLB playoffs this year or some Game 5s. You know, we got 5-game sets in the division series. So maybe we get some Game 5s. But like I said, on Monday, when we come in, that'll probably be the first thing we talk about because it'll be really, really more important. I'm going to call it more important than what goes on in the NFL on Sunday. Even though it looks like the Panthers will be getting Bryce Young back. He's a full participant in practice again. And you know what they're going to say about this game between the Vikings and the Panthers? They're going to throw your hands up in the air and say, well, somebody's got to win, right? 2-0-3 teams going at it. It would be funny to me, though, if the Vikings and Panthers end up tying and remaining winless on the year. Because, you know, somebody doesn't have to win. You could tie. We kind of got sidetracked there towards the end. Talking about the playoffs and what series are better. 3 games, 4 games, 7 games. You can't do 4 games. 3, 5, 7, or a 1-game elimination. I'm curious what you fans out there think. Are 1-game series better where it's just one and done and move on? Or would you rather see a 3-game set, a 5-game set, something where you can have multiple opportunities? I don't know. We're just finding things to talk about today. When we come back, we'll continue with the NFL. We started on it a little bit. We talked about Bryce Young. I'll have some details on that on the other side of the break. And we'll talk about this Thursday night game that's coming up. Make sure you stay tuned here on WSIC. This is the Scoreboard with me, your favorite host, Joe Berg. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Whatever the story,
we have to end our dependence on China.
Have your say.
This debt crisis is going to set our economy back big time.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Make your work easier with Eagle Rentals of Troutman and Statesville. Eagle Rentals has generators, heaters, fans, painting equipment, floor care equipment, pressure washers, lighting equipment, and lawn care equipment. Plus, Eagle Rentals has construction equipment like forklifts, bobcat loaders, backhoes, excavators, and more. Reserve online at eaglerentals.com. That's eaglerentals.com.
And now for a look at your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center. As you head through the evening, it'll be a while before you see sunshine again. Mostly cloudy conditions throughout the nighttime. Your overnight low heading down to 57. Into Thursday morning, the sun will be out, partly sunny skies with your afternoon high up around 75. This is your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center.
The Ugly Antenna has now become a household name in this area. The Ugly Antenna allows those without a streaming provider to receive up to 50 channels absolutely free of charge, including Fox 46.1. The Ugly Antenna is small and connects directly to your TV. Get the Ugly Antenna for just $40. Call 704-682-1755. That's 704-682-1755 for the Ugly Antenna. Quality Car Care is your local Toyota specialist and a licensed NC inspection station. Plus, find a huge selection of quality pre-owned cars at QualityCarCareStatesville.com or call 704-871-2535.
Always ready to help you make it fun to work outside. Little Shavers Wood Shop stocks up on all your wood, treated lumber, wood fencing, and all the treatment items to keep them looking great. PBG paints and stains, and add in some pine needles and Daddy Pete's mulch and soils, and your landscaping will be the best around. Tools, supplies, and just about all you need is ready for you at Little Shavers. Head on over to Little Shavers, 3301 Salisbury Highway, right in between Statesville, Morrisville, and Moxville. Visit LittleShaversWoodshop.com. That's LILShaversWoodshop.com.
It's back, and it's better than ever. The WSIC Community Yard Sale. Sell your stuff October 28th as we bring back the legendary Community Yard Sale. Visit WSICnews.com/yard sale. Get your spot today.
Hi, this is Andy with Lake Mountain Coffee, located at 110 West Broad Street in Statesville. Many of you probably know us from our large coffee house downtown, but did you know we're also the owners of Statesville's first and only coffee roasting facility? We purchase coffee beans from around the world, bring them right here to Statesville, roast them in our facility for our customers around the region. Why would you go to a grocery store, purchase old coffee beans off the shelf, or any other source where you can have fresh roasted beans at Lake Mountain Coffee, 131 West Broad Street in Statesville.
It'll be a homecoming without the travel for Panthers wide receiver Adam Thielen as his former team, the Minnesota Vikings, come to Carolina on Sunday. I'm Jim Zoki with a Panthers update after this.
The only way to be your best self is with your best health. When you have a health partner who doesn't just treat part of you, they care for all of you. That's why more people prefer Atrium Health, because unrivaled care is easier, more accessible, and more complete than ever before, so that you can enjoy more of the moments you love. That's what it means to live meaningfully, to live joyfully, to live fully with Atrium Health.
Adam Thielen grew up in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, played his college football at Minnesota State, and then played 9 NFL seasons for the Minnesota Vikings. So clearly playing Minnesota this Sunday will mean a lot to him. But with both teams entering the game 0-3, means even more to get their seasons turned around.
Both teams are going to have some urgency. I think another thing is both teams are much better football teams than 0-3. They got a talented roster. Obviously, I've been a part of it for a long time, and got a lot of respect for those guys over there.
Thielen was a 2-time Pro Bowl player for the Vikings, and for the Panthers, he's coming off a big game in Seattle, 11 catches for 145 yards and a touchdown. But for the team, he says it's not a happy time with them still looking for their first win of the season.
First of all, frustrated. It's 0-3. It never feels good. We have so much confidence. I know I do individually. I know this team does. I know Coach does. This coaching staff has a lot of confidence in this team. So to be where we're at, I think it's obviously not where we want to be. We knew that it was going to be a process to this season, but we got to find a way to be urgent. We're too good to just go through the season and just kind of waste it away, right? So we got to be urgent in the way that we prepare, and we got to have some urgency here.
I'm Jim Zoki on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network, presented by Morris Jenkins.
Thought-provoking conversations and informed perspectives.
It's meant for everyday people to understand, and you don't have to stress about technical terms and stuff. They just say it like a real person.
WSIC News Talk Now.
Well, here we are. There we are. Hey, everybody. We are back here on the Scoreboard. WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM. Video to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our website, WSICnews.com. We're going to talk a little football right now. 704-873-1400. That is the phone number. If you have a question, comment, or concern, are you worried about Bryce Young? I'm a little bit worried. So Bryce Young, full participant in practice today. I have some comments from head coach Frank Reich. This from Coach Reich after practice. He just has to make sure there are no major setbacks, no flare-ups, but if he stays on track, then I think things are heading in the right direction. That in response to a question about whether or not Bryce is on track to start against the Vikings on Sunday. So it looks good for him, and it looks like the rehab's going all right. He's been resting that ankle and can play without limitations. That is the hope. Here is an interesting quote from Coach Wright. First thing I would say is hats off to Bryce for getting himself ready to get out there today. You could see the determination in his eyes. You could feel his energy and the will to be out there. I don't like these kind of quotes. I don't, because it just feels like lip service. Like they're just trying to please the reporters or whoever's asking the question. Like, hey, praise to Bryce for working hard to get back out there. Okay. He's being paid millions and millions of dollars. I would hope that he's working hard to get back out there. You know, it'd be surprising if he came in and said, yeah, I mean, he's out there, but it looked like he wasn't trying to be out there. That's a better quote. Because you hear the same thing every time there's an injury. They're like, yeah, props to you for trying your best to get back out there. We appreciate the determination. Maybe put a little weight on and not get hurt. I don't want to get mean. Let's relax. Let's calm down. I don't want to be mean. But I did say that it was going to be an issue. Bryce's weight, he's a little undersized. And what happened in the first 3 weeks of the season? In the second game of the season, he got hurt. Don't blame me. I warned you. I told you that this was a possibility. So maybe we'll see Andy Dalton again on Sunday. Who knows? I'd rather see Andy Dalton at this point just because maybe the Panthers can steal a win. Bryce can sit and watch a little bit because I don't want to throw this kid out there onto a field with a team around him that's terrible. He's just going to learn bad habits. And this happens with a ton of number one. Unless you are like the second coming of Peyton Manning, the first overall pick really doesn't pan out all that much. Especially if they're a quarterback. I don't know. I feel like, why do you see guys like Mahomes in the middle of the draft being better? Jalen Hurts, you know? These guys weren't top number one picks. Trevor Lawrence, different story. He had it. Also, and this is completely off topic, but the Jaguars were not a terrible team when they drafted him. They had a bad year. They had, issues. But they were a couple of years removed from an AFC title game. So Bryce Young, full participant in practice today. Good sign that he's ready to return despite the ankle injury. And KJ Wright on KJ All Day, his podcast, was able to talk to Cam Newton about what he thinks of the Panthers and what he thinks about the way they're handling Bryce Young. And he had some interesting comments. If you are interested, go ahead on YouTube, look up KJ All Day. That's the name of his podcast. He was talking about basically what we're talking about right now, is that, the number one overall pick, it's not all the glory that you would think it is, because let's think of it this way. A couple of the worst teams in the NFL this year are the Broncos, the Bears. Broncos just lost by 70. Well, they lost by 50, but they allowed 70 points to be put up. The Bears, not good. Haven't been good for a while. The number one prospect this year. Okay, here's my question. If you are a top, say you're Caleb Williams, you are the top college quarterback prospect this year. Everybody's hyping you up. You're going to be the number one pick more than likely, unless you have a really, really bad year. Nobody's going to knock you off of that pedestal. You will be the number one pick. Maybe you won't win the Heisman again, but okay, that doesn't happen. Nobody wins the Heisman twice in a row. Very few times. Do you want to be the number one overall pick this year? Because you're probably going to go to the Cardinals or the Bears. I don't know about you fans out there who listen and see these things, but I wouldn't want to be drafted by either of those teams. Cardinals haven't been good in half a decade. The Bears haven't been good. Man, they've been okay. They've been decent, but are they cursed from the double doink? I wouldn't want to be the number one pick. And that's pretty much what Cam Newton was talking about on the podcast, KJ All Day, saying you can't throw this kid out there to a terrible situation and just let him get beat up because your team's not good. And that's what it feels like they're doing. I thought the Panthers were going to be a little bit better of a unit this year. They're not. They will be one of the worst teams in the league this year, it seems like. We'll see what happens in the second half of the year. Because like I said, in the second half of the year, the schedule is not as horrifying, but it's still tough, even in the second half of the year. I mean, coming off the bye, we do get to play a couple of nobodies in the Bears, which is going to be awesome. I would have said that the Texans were going to be a no-name game where we could be like, whatever, maybe whoever the best rookie quarterback is will win. Well, guess what? C.J. Stroud looks great. He looks really good. And he had his best weekend last weekend. Fifth passer. He's got the fifth most passing yards in the league right now as a rookie. Now, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did mention that if I was the Panthers, I'd probably take C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young. I know when you get into this quarterback conversation in the draft, it's like, Ohio State quarterback, Alabama quarterback. They're not good. And historically, that is true. Now, you do have a few Alabama quarterbacks out there at least, Tua being the best of them, obviously. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be the best Alabama quarterback in the pros ever. Mac Jones is hanging on to a starting job by the skin of his teeth. I don't consider Jalen Hurts to be an Alabama quarterback. They got rid of him. He's an Oklahoma guy. I don't really remember how we got to this topic, but Panthers aren't going to be good. And C.J. Stroud looks great. We got one more segment already. Man, this show, every single time, it flies by. Stay tuned. We'll talk a little bit about the Thursday night football game. I don't want to preview it too much because we got tomorrow for that. We'll talk a little bit of NASCAR. There's some NASCAR news with Kyle Busch Motorsports. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Scoreboard on WSIC, and we'll be back after this.
Be a part of the conversation.
I listen on the way to work.
Have your say.
It's more than just opinions, it's facts.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. This Friday, the Steel Wheels are performing at Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius. Come listen to the storytelling abilities of the Steel Wheels through Americana and folk music. Doors open at 7 and the show starts at 8. The Steel Wheels, this Friday, kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Start your engines, racing fans. the Bank of America Roval 400 is back to Charlotte, Sunday, October 8th, starting at 2 p.m. The Bank of America Roval 400 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Get your tickets before it's too late. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com. No time to get to the apple picking at Kerrigan Farms? Apple picking ends September 30th. But you have your chance to go pumpkin picking. Starting September 30th, you can experience the pumpkin patch at Kerrigan Farms. Book your experience now at kerriganfarms.com. The All-American Dog Show is this Sunday in Cornelius, 2 until 5 p.m. Bring your furry friends with you. Come find out who has the fluffiest coat and see the cutest puppy in all of Cornelius. And be sure to come by the WSIC tent at the All-American Dog Show happening at Robbins Park in Cornelius this Sunday. For more info, visit cornelius.org. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Renaissance Festival is back. Saturdays and Sundays, September 30th through November 19th. Eat, drink, be merry at the Renaissance Festival. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
And now for a look at your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center. As you head through the evening, it'll be a while before you see sunshine again. Mostly cloudy conditions throughout the nighttime. Your overnight low heading down to 57. Into Thursday morning, the sun will be out. Partly sunny skies with your afternoon high up around 75. This is your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center.
Folks, you know Randy Marion sells vehicles the King of Price way, but did you know our service department? We service vehicles the King of Price way. We sell tires, we sell brakes, we sell batteries, we sell the maintenance. We help you keep your vehicle on the road safe, ready to drive. Whatever the season is, Randy Marion service departments have you covered. Come see us today because, folks, again, you know we sell the King of Price way and we do service the King of Price way.
King of Price, RandyMarionStatesville.com.
Breaking news, expert analysis, and the stories that matter most, all in one place.
I totally acknowledge seeing flames is a scary situation.
WSIC News Talk Now.
All right, we are back with the final segment here today on the Scoreboard. We're going to do what we can to get through as much as we can in this final segment because there was a lot of things gone on my plate today, and I spent way too much time on some other topics. But that's just how it goes sometimes. All right, some news. Let's start the final segment with some news. Michigan State has officially fired Mel Tucker for cause. Now, if you remember, they had a speaker come in to talk to the team about sexual assault, and, well, there was some allegations of sexual assault by the coach, Mel Tucker. He has been fired with cause, so MSU trying their best not to pay Mel Tucker the millions and millions. I think it's 79 was the number I saw, $79 million remaining on his contract. So they're trying to get out of that. So Mel Tucker fired for cause. Out of the NASCAR world, we do have some news. Kyle Busch Motorsports. Has everybody heard about Kyle Busch Motorsports? Well, Spire Motorsports has officially purchased Kyle Busch Motorsports and Rowdy Mountain Manufacturing. So Spire gets more truck cars. KBM losing their own individuality there. They are now under Spire. So it's interesting because I've seen a lot of Kyle Busch conversations with when he might be retiring, what's going to happen with his son. And the most recent thing that I saw with Kyle Busch was that he is going to race a couple more years in NASCAR. And then when he's done, he wants to do one full-time season, 4 points in the Truck Series, which would be interesting. If he won the championship there, you'd have a championship everywhere, Xfinity, Cup, and now Truck. But most importantly, it was said that when Brexton, his son, was old enough, he would run the short tracks and the intermediate tracks, and Kyle would run the bigger tracks until Brexton got a little older, and then he would hand off the reins fully to his son. With Spire purchasing KBM, I really wonder if there was some kind of like handshake agreement, like, hey, I'm going to come drive one of these cars at some point, and then I'm going to hand it off to my son. That was the plan that I had been seeing for Kyle Busch, because he is getting up there in age, getting towards the end of his NASCAR career. He wants to go do trucks. He wants that championship in every series, which I don't blame him for. He could totally do it. He got that Xfinity championship back when they used to be able to do points for both series. So he wants that truck one. It's very interesting to me that KBM that Kyle Busch would sell KBM. Included in the sale are the assets of the truck team and Rowdy Manufacturing, chassis building operation, and CNC machine shops. The transaction also includes the 77,000 square foot facility that houses KBM, located right here at home in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And if you never visited Kyle Busch Motorsports and you wanted to, well, you might want to make some weekend plans. I don't know if they're open on the weekend. They're probably not, but you might want to make some plans to go see it, because it's going to be Spire soon. And Spire Motorsports, obviously, they're becoming a little bit more popular as Justin Haley's driven for them, won a race at Daytona. So we see a little bit of truck ownership shifting hands. Speaking of NASCAR, they are really going in on this marketing for Ryan Preece and Chase Briscoe. Ryan Preece will drive the number 41 Wonder Bread car, the car seen in the movie Talladega Nights. And Chase Briscoe will drive the Old Spice car, also seen in Talladega Nights. Shake and bake, all that fun stuff. Remember, man, it was like maybe 10 years ago. I don't know if it was that long ago, but Kurt Busch was driving for Phoenix Racing, and he didn't have a sponsor for Talladega. So he did what they did in Talladega Nights, and he ran the Me car with the Cougar on the front. An actual animal Cougar. I thought that was great. And I'm surprised that NASCAR never really fell more into this. We're going to have drivers use paint schemes from famous racing movies. I think it'd be great to have, like, maybe not at like a Darlington weekend type thing. That might be stepping on some toes with the whole throwback thing that they're trying to do. But have a race, have one race out of the year where drivers pick a paint scheme from a popular NASCAR movie. Now, you're probably going to run out of paint schemes fast, but wouldn't it be awesome to see somebody driving the Herbie car out there? Man, that'd be great. You'll get to see the Talladega Nights cars on Sunday. That's going to be awesome. And like I said, no more fitting than for Ryan Preece to drive the Ricky Bobby car as he went, yup, I'm flying through the air at Daytona. I mean, that's just good marketing right there. So a round of applause for that one, because they, NASCAR are normally not the smartest people when it comes to marketing their stuff. The team's the same, but this one, they get an A++ for me. They've got Preece They got Priest and Briscoe doing the photo from Talladega Nights where he's on his shoulder. Man, that's fun. Like, that is fun stuff. NASCAR needs to get back to doing fun things because they've really shied away from it. Boys Have Had It. Man, remember Boys Have Had It? NASCAR said, you know what? We're done penalizing the drivers. Go deal with it out on the racetrack. Can we get another, Boys Have At It Part 2? Because I think it'd be great. Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin would wreck each other every week. Every week. And it'd be awesome. All right, let's get a little bit serious here about NASCAR and previewing the race coming up for Talladega. Here's some sound with Ryan Blaney on the Talladega weekend.
Yeah, I think it does a little bit, with the fall race at Talladega. It kind of just depends how people approach it. I feel like some people always, it's like split of how some teams and drivers approach that weekend, whether you just kind of hang around and try to finish the race or you try to be aggressive and get stage points and control the race. I feel like that's kind of how we've approached it, is try to lead laps, control the race, try to win stages. And then, it's just so hard to come from the back now, and you could still, ride around all day in the back and then try to be there at the end and still get wrecked and have nothing to show for it, So we've always just been on the side of controlling everything, trying to be up front and lead laps, and that's what it is. But yeah, the dynamic changes a little bit just because it is a playoff race.
And that was Blaney talking about the differences between the spring race and the fall race at Talladega. I would hope that there's a big difference because the fall race is in the playoffs. A little bit more important. But he does bring up a very good point that these drivers, I'm sure them and their crews, question this every time they come to Talladega in the playoffs. Do we race, try to get stage points, or do we stay in the back of the field and hope to be there at the end of the race? And I don't think there is a correct or incorrect strategy. It can go either way, whether you want to hang back and be there at the end and gain points, or stay up front and get those stage points, because usually the big wreck doesn't happen until after the second stage, usually. Now, we've seen the big one happen early in races. We've seen it happen in the middle of a race. Me personally, I would probably be more on the side of just go up there and race, try and get stage points, try to, learn what your car is going to do in the draft, because that's another thing that you're not going to be able to do is learn how your car handles in a draft of 20, 30 cars. If you're hanging back the entire race, maybe it drives good there. Maybe in the back where you're not near anybody, it drives great. But when you get up to the front or in the middle of a pack, it's going to drive differently. So I've always been of the idea of just go up there and race. And, if you crash, you crash. It's Talladega. There's going to be crashes. Thank you, as always, for joining in today. You've been listening to The Scoreboard. We ran out of time. We got some pretty good news in there. Talked about Talladega. Tomorrow, we get to preview Thursday Night Football. Lions, Packers, both 2-1. Should be a good one. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. This is The Scoreboard on WSIC. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you then.